got barbecue back here. You're uninvited. Welcome to the Sleepcast. How are you doing today, Kyle?
I'm doing all right, Jared. Doing all right. We had a great episode on our Monday, doing our Scarlet and Grade for the Ohio State Notre Dame game. Feeling really good here, and we're gonna talk about some collegiate chaos this episode here, or rather the lack of that could have been.
What do we have? We have 5 top 25 losses. So that's great. None of them technically chaos because they all lost to other top 25 teams. And there also wasn't a situation where like a 20 to 25 beat a top 10. I'd have called that chaos. It's hard to have chaos when there's so many ranked games. Exactly, Austin. And especially even then, a lot of the ranked games, the teams were very similarly ranked. You know, Ohio State and Notre Dame were right there with each other. There wasn't a ton of separation between Oregon and Colorado. And even then, maybe if Colorado won, you could have called it chaos, but that'd have been stretching it. I think Bama proved they're not 100% dead yet. Their offense is out. Let's talk about it. Alabama, Ole Miss, one of our top 25 losses. But yeah, no chaos. Chaos 0 for this week. Chaos went 0 for this week.
No, there's one. Technically there was one.
No, there wasn't. Clemson almost was on. Clemson was playing the part of chaos and almost provided some chaos taking down Florida State. That didn't happen. By the way, there were 6 ranked on ranked, not 5.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Alabama could lean into essentially the offense we ran with Braxton Miller at quarterback and maybe run the table.
But they have to actually have a quarterback that can actually run.
They do. Their quarterback can run. He fumbles sometimes, though.
Well,
he doesn't run like Braxton. And an O-line. That Matt. I've never thought I'd see the day where a Nick Saban Alabama team would have such a desperately bad offensive line. And it's not due to lack of recruiting. They got stars up front.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just something just not looking right. It's
offense is their best hope. I think it'd be more of a JT offense, for what it's worth.
It's amazing what a good quarterback can do for a program here.
That being said, if you watch we're talking about the Alabama Ole Miss game. If you watch the Alabama Ole Miss game, if it was Ole Miss's offense against Alabama's defense, and you were watching that game, did we touch on Baker, by the way, Jared? No. If you watch that game, and like I said, Ole Miss's offense was on the field, and Alabama's defense was on the field, you were greeted to some amazing football. It was really some tremendous football. Then they would switch sides, and you saw Bama's offense against Ole Miss's defense, and that was some shit football. Jared, you said there's no chaos. Did you not watch Buffalo, Oregon? Clearly the better team lost. I know you were kidding. You didn't have to point out the sarcasm on that one. Yeah, Bama's fine. That's it.
They're not fine. They're not fine, Jared.
No,
they're okay.
Their defense is so good, though. Legitimately, their defense is still so good. They're just totally inept on offense. And it's still a really top flight defense. I get that by Bama standards, by the standard in which Bama has set for itself, this is not a good football team. But objectively, this is still a very, very good defense. I couldn't say very good team.
They can probably get right back into it here because the rest of the SEC West is not good. Not good. The only really competition that I see here is LSU for Alabama, and maybe Alabama can sneak their way into the conference championship game here.
Yeah,
I know the East isn't good, but we know who's going to win the East.
Yeah. Mizzou, best team in the SEC. Yeah. Yeah, so we'll watch Bama. We'll see. I have to think that offensive line gets better as the season goes. Like, can you imagine a Bama not ranked? It had to have been like Saban's first or second year at Alabama the last time that team wasn't ranked.
Yeah. Looking at other games here, Jared. So Georgia beat UAB 49-21. Michigan struggled with Rutgers, but pulled away in the second half 31-7. Texas took care of
neither Georgia or Michigan, I thought, looked particularly impressive in their games.
No, I don't think so either.
It was, at UAB Georgia was what? 14 at half. Yeah. And UAB's bad. Rutgers gave Michigan a great fight through the first half. And I think Rutgers is fine this year too. I think Rutgers is not the worst team in the Big Ten East. Which is saying something. In fact, they're not one of the two worst teams in the Big Ten East, which I think is saying something if you're Rutgers. Does 2-1 Georgia make it to the playoffs with their schedule? Probably right. But what about 11-1? No one's good. Yeah. Where's the loss? Kyle asked, say Tennessee. I agree with Kyle. I don't see a loss on their schedule because their schedule is shit. Two,
honestly, if they lose one game, they make it to the SEC championship game and they win, they're in.
Yeah, 100%. The only way, if it were just say they lose. I don't see it, but it's a podcast. Geez, Jared, that's fair. Let's say it's Tennessee. And let's say that they're both one loss, but then Tennessee has the tiebreaker, and Tennessee goes to the SEC championship game, locking Georgia out of the SEC championship game. Maybe they could not make it. If Michigan and Ohio State are sitting there, one of them's undefeated, the other one has one loss, it's to the other one, and it was a close game. Both of those teams might make it. I don't know.
I feel with the past success that Georgia had, and I know those are previous seasons. This is a new season, and what happened last year shouldn't matter where you rank a team this year, but there's going to be that recent bias, and they're going to probably would give Georgia the little leeway there. It's just my gut instinct.
I would agree.
All right, so moving on here. Texas takes care of Baylor. Florida State had to go into overtime to beat Clemson, which Clemson missed a field goal in regulation to beat Florida State. But Clemson Clemsoning.
Clemson screwed up a lot of clock management towards the end. That game could have ended differently. That was really the only time we got significantly close to a chaos scenario this week. That's basically it.
Mm-hmm. USC beat Arizona State 42-28. I didn't watch a single second of that because I was so late. when that game played. Penn State shuts out Iowa 31-0.
The resurrection of Iowa's offense was greatly exaggerated.
Yeah.
No, Yeetus, Dabo has fallen off. There is no falling off. He is straight fallen off. It's we're in the past tense now, Yeetus. We're living in the past tense. Kyle
Since
is
Lawrence
Florida
left.
State legit. He's specifically asking you. Austin wants to know your opinion. Is Florida State back? Are they legit?
They're a good team. Are they back? I mean, you look at the resume. Okay, they got a good win against LSU, and then on paper, it looks like it's a good road win against Clemson. But
On paper, it's not because they're an unranked team.
true.
They went to overtime against an unranked team.
I think
It's an
I think they're
impressive
good.
brand. The only thing that makes that win impressive is the laundry.
Yeah.
It's because
They're
we're
good.
conditioned
They're
to
good.
think that Clemson is good.
Florida State's good. I think they're good. Now, are they great? Time will tell. But I think they're a good team, and if they can get their stuff together, they definitely would pose a big challenge.
Penn State game could be a top 5-6 matchup in late October. Does a loss there fuck us, even if we win out? No. Don't lose twice. Which rule is that, Austin? I feel like that's pretty high up there. Don't lose twice. If you lose that game close, if you lose close to Penn State, but then you turn around and you beat Michigan, is it Rule 12, really? It should be higher. They're not ranked. I don't know why I think it should be higher. But the point being, as we know, these are chronological. That's debatable, but we don't need to get into that right now. True, but Penn State and Ohio State both getting in doesn't look like the CFP would do it. Why not? They put both Ohio State and Michigan in last year.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference? Listen, we're moving towards a power 2 system. We need to get really comfortable with the idea that we're going to have and probably not this year, but maybe next year, where it's going to be 2 Big Ten teams and 2 SEC teams in the playoffs, and that will become normal. That's going to be normal very soon. Actually, it won't be because we're moving to a 12-team playoff. But if we weren't moving to a 12-team playoff, that would be very normal.
Mm-hmm. All right. Moving on here, Jared. I mentioned Penn State beat Iowa 31-0. Washington, Penix, our favorite former Hoosier quarterback, leads Washington to a 59-32 victory over Cal.
Kyle, I keep saying no one is good. I've said it a bunch of times. No one's good. No one's good. No one's good this year. Everyone's vulnerable. Everyone has weaknesses. No one's great this year. Everyone bleeds.
Washington has a good offense.
Well, how are we feeling about Washington?
Washington has a very good offense.
Penix about to take home the Heisman. I know we have a very, very, very recent example of this, but September Heismans almost never win it.
He has 1,600 yards passing through 4 games, Jared.
Well,
and 16 touchdowns.
Austin says, I love how Penix was a meme, but he's legit. Yeah, in Indiana, he was a meme. But he grew up, he moved out west to where the mighty, I'm not going to say that joke. I don't know why. I've made so many Penix jokes before, but that one I decided to not follow through on. Cal.
Crazy numbers from Penix early on here. 75%
Boise,
completion.
Tulsa, Michigan State, Cal. Worth noting, this is not a murderer's row of teams. And like, credit to Washington, they didn't know Michigan State was going to be this when they scheduled them. But this, I wish I had a crazy Penix number. Jesus Christ, Austin, that one broke me. God damn it. That's my entire train of thought derailed.
Washington, bottom line, Washington, a very good offense. Yeah, they're letting up some points on defense here, but yeah, it's a good Washington team here. It's a very good Washington team.
Very good Washington offense, but again, I have to point out the schedule. It's not impressive.
Speaking of teams who are not good or have proven who are not good, Colorado get taken to the woodshed by Oregon. It was 42. It was 42-0 going into the fourth quarter.
It was 35-0 going into halftime. Oregon pulled up. Here's the thing. They were never good. They're an average college football team, which is really good for them. I mean, it is unless you become a joke. When you put yourself up on a pedestal like that and then you get humiliated like that, you risk becoming a joke. And when you become known as, one, a joke, and two, a program that will unapologetically cut your kid from the team and take a scholarship away, how do you continue to attract talent? That's the problem. When you become known as a joke and as a ruthless manager of your roster, we all know what managing the roster means. What point does that start to impact recruiting?
Yeah. All right. Moving on to other teams here, Jared. So Utah beats UCLA 14-7. Utah not looking all that great. I know that they've had
UCLA also look good. I think UCLA is a sneaky, decent team.
But I mean, I know Utah is still without their starting quarterback, but boy, their offense, they're finding ways to win here, but their offense is just not that great.
If you didn't watch this game, 7 of those points were scored by Utah on the very first play. And yes, it's worth noting that the very first play was run by UCLA. It was a pick 6 right from the beginning. Rising makes the offense go. Yeah, you're right.
Yep, absolutely. LSU squeaks by Arkansas 34-31. Here's another game that chaos almost had. Yeah. I said before that the Florida State Clemson game was our only real opportunity at chaos. Well, LSU almost dropped the ball against Arkansas. Here's the problem. If you're Florida State, the crowning jewel of your schedule is LSU, who has not looked good. No.
So that starts to call into question, okay, so how good is Florida State actually?
Good question. Yeah.
So every once in a while you get one of those games where at the beginning of the year, it's 2 huge brands and it's a great game and everyone's like, oh my God, what a game. But then everyone forgets about it 6 weeks later because it turns out both of those teams actually just sucked.
Mm-hmm.
Starting to wonder if that's Florida State LSU.
Kind of funny how things work out that way. We already talked about Alabama beating Ole Miss. The Pac-2 championship game of 21 ranked Washington State beating out 14th ranked Oregon State 38-35. Washington State had this game going into the fourth quarter. They were up 35-14, and then Oregon State put up 21 points in the fourth quarter, but the field goal was the difference for the Cougars.
And these two teams are going to be fantastic in the Mountain West next year. The Mountain West sucks.
Yeah.
How was that one, Austin? I changed it up for you.
Oklahoma beat Cincinnati 20-6. Don't really have much to say to that other than okay.
That's fair.
North Carolina beats Pittsburgh 41-24. Duke wins. Miami wins. Tennessee wins, and Florida struggled, but they did beat the mighty 49ers of Charlotte.
Kyle,
22-7.
I'm going to keep asking you this question until you give me an answer as our resident North Carolina expert. Why on earth is a team on the east coast of the country called the 49ers? The 49ers were a bunch of miners who traveled to California to find gold. Why would a team on the East Coast be called a 49er? It would be like if the basketball team of Los Angeles were called the Lakers, despite the fact that it's a desert. It doesn't make any sense.
The nickname 49ers derives from the fact that the university's predecessor, Charlotte Center of the University of North Carolina, was saved from being shut down by the state in 1949.
Yet, I can't help but notice that their logo is a pickaxe.
Yeah. All right, and two other games here. Just note
that feels like a stretch because the logo is a pickaxe, Kyle. The logo is a pickaxe.
I know.
It's more like, hey, that San Francisco team's kind of good, right? Let's try and ride their coattails.
I don't live in Charlotte. I can't answer that. All right. The last two games here, going to the Big Ten here. Indiana needed 4 overtimes to beat mighty Akron, the Zips.
Good job, Indiana. When do they play Rutgers? Because I need to watch that crown be passed for the worst team in the Big Ten East. A miner was chosen as the mascot as a nod to Reed Gold Mine nearby Concord, yada, 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 yada. So it's just a coincidence then that they're called the 49ers and that they found and that they also just happened to, by totally unrelated coincidence, to pick a miner based off of the Reed Gold Mine.
Yep.
This definitely doesn't sound like they came up with the name first and then an excuses to justify the name later. Totally not what happened.
Indiana plays Rutgers in about a month.
Too late. I want that now.
All right, in the last game here, Jared, your Golden Gophers.
Not my Golden Gophers.
Your Golden Gophers.
Your Charlotte 49ers.
Led up 21 points to Northwestern in that fourth quarter where it went to overtime, and Minnesota lost to Northwestern 37-34.
You got to fire PJ Fleck at this point. You Fleck's done. He has now been at Minnesota for a while, and he has gotten them all the way up to sub-mid. And some outlasted, except it wasn't. Yeah, it just was. It was only fun because he makes a lot of noise and draws a lot of attention to himself. He's a poor man's Deion Sanders. PJ Fleck is just a poor man's Deion Sanders. That's all he is. He's a self-promo guy. He's all about himself and me and look at me. And it's time that we and by we I mean those of us in charge of the University of Minnesota call an end to the PJ Fleck experiment and just do literally anything else at this point.
Yeah.
And they play Texas next week. Good God.
Good God. All right, and we got any other games you want to talk about, Jared?
No. If you want to hear our thoughts on Ohio State Notre Dame, we did an hour on it on Monday. You can go listen to that. I don't know. Kyle, Notre Dame still a playoff team, yes?
If they run the table, they could be. Yes. It was only a 3-point loss. Yeah, they definitely are.
It's their playoff quality team. Unfortunately for them, they have a hell of a schedule coming up. What is Notre Dame's schedule? If they run the table, they're in unless the fourth spot is between them and Ohio State. That's a decent point, Austin.
At Duke. They play at Duke.
Who is surprisingly good.
At Louisville.
Not
home
that
to
great.
Home to USC.
That's a tough pull.
Home to Pitt. At Clemson. Home to Wake Forest and at Stanford.
Having Pitt sandwiched between USC and Clemson might be sneaky. The USC game, if they can win the USC game, they're still a playoff team. I think they. Yeah, we're almost done, Matt. You're good. Duke through Clemson stretch is tough. I agree, Austin. I wholeheartedly agree. I think they're a playoff quality team, but I think that if they were cowards, if they were total cowards like Michigan and scheduled nobody, then they could have been a playoff team. I said it. So what? Want to fight about it?
All right. We do have one question here, Jared. We have one question from Nomad. Is the Pac-12 the best conference in football this year?
No.
Explain.
I see 3 Big Ten teams in the top 10. And yes, there are also 3 Pac-12 teams in the top 10. I guess technically 10 in the top 10 with Utah sitting at 10. But it is still 3, yes, as Austin is pointing out, 3 Big Ten teams in the top 6. Half of the top 6. Yes. That's the difference. That's the difference right now. The Big Ten has 3 teams ranked higher than the highest Pac-12 team.
So the Big Ten is top heavy, but then that's it. There's no one else in the Big Ten.
Right, but we also have to consider this. If this were next year, the Big Ten would have number 2, number 4, 6, 7, 8, and 9.
That's next year.
That is next year. But it's not next year. But if it were next year.
And Nomad's question was this year. Is the Pac-12 the best
I understand what the question is. And I said Ohio State has half of the top 6. Excuse me. The Big Ten has top of combine the 2 things I said wrong, put them together and pretend I said it right. The Big Ten holds half of the top 6. Discussion over.
It's kind of funny seeing the SEC here. No, let's just put in 4 SEC teams at the bottom of the AP 25 there.
Yeah, it's here's the thing, it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
Here's the thing, it doesn't matter. And like I said, if you fast forward this to next year, the Big Ten would hold 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the top 10. The Big Ten, the 2024 version of the Big Ten.
Where's the 7th one?
Michigan at 2, Ohio State at 4, Penn State at 6, Washington at 7, USC at 8. Oh, I'm sorry. That's Utah. Utah and UCLA played each other. I got confused. Yeah. Utah does feel very Big Ten. I was crossing up USC and Utah in my head because they played each other.
I think that is it, Jared. Anything else?
Utah, by the way, is not a bad candidate to join the Big Ten. It legitimately, I think, would make a great fit, just for what it's worth. If the rate of the ACC doesn't happen in the future the way I expect it to, I don't think it would be ridiculous to see Colorado and Utah jump the ship from the Big 12 into the Big 10. I don't think that's a totally outlandish thing that could happen. All right. But I still think the rate of the ACC is more likely at this time. Because like as much as Utah does feel like a Big Ten team, you know who else really feels like a Big Ten team? UNC and Virginia. UNC, Virginia both feel very Big Ten to me.
I agree.
But anyway, those are wasteland topics. Those aren't today topics. I'll be in Chapel Hill come basketball season. It would be fun. All right, that's it. That's the end of the show. Yada yada yada. Discord server. Yada yada yada. Patreon. Kyle, do you have anything in Kyle's corner?
Not really.
Cool CJ Stroud stat.
Yeah. Oh, yes. CJ Stroud. Yeah. Not only did he get his first NFL win here, but yeah, he's leading or right at the top of passing yards for all quarterbacks, not just rookies, but all quarterbacks through 3 games. And yeah, over 120 attempts passed so far and 0 interceptions.
Which I believe you told me is the all-time record. Most passes attempted without an interception.
Yes. Yeah, I'm trying to find it here. Yeah, Stroud attempted 121 passes through 3 games, completing 65% and 0 picks.
That's insane. That is utterly insane to throw 120, your first 120 some passes in the NFL and have none of those intercepted. I mean, it's literally never been done before. What else do you need to know about how insane that is?
Yep.
All right, Kyle, that's it. That's the end of the show.
That is it.
All right. Tonight's ending music is I believe they're out of Dayton. They're called Abertooth Lincoln. So that's the ending music for today. So with all that being said, that's what I normally say. With all that being said, I'd like to encourage everyone to drink local beer, listen to local music, and of course, support local podcasters. Once again, Abertooth Lincoln.